Commander Jin Park stood at the viewing window of the human transport ship Earth's Hope. Outside, the crystal world of Nexus Prime sparkled like a giant diamond against the black of space. This was it. The moment humanity had worked toward for 50 years since they first built ships that could travel faster than light. "Commander, we're getting the landing signal," said Captain Han Li from behind him. Han was a quiet man with careful eyes. He had been a soldier for 20 years before becoming a space captain. "The council is ready to see us." Jin turned away from the window. He wore his best uniform, dark blue with gold trim. On his chest were the symbols of United Earth. Next to him, Dr. Yu Kim checked her datapad one more time. Yu was the smartest person Jin knew. She had studied alien life for 15 years, even before they met any aliens. "Remember," Jin said to his team, "we are here to show them that humans deserve a place in the galaxy. We are not begging. We are offering friendship." The transport ship landed on a platform made of pure crystal. Everything on Nexus Prime seemed to be made of crystal. Even the air shimmered like it had tiny diamonds floating in it. Jin, Han, and Yu walked down the ramp and saw their first aliens up close, a tall creature that looked like it was made of blue crystal walked toward them. It had no face that humans could understand, just a smooth surface that somehow spoke. "I am Guide Kextal," the creature said. Its voice sounded like wind chimes. "Follow me to the council chamber. Do not touch anything. Do not speak unless spoken to. Do not look directly at the High Chancellor." Jin wanted to ask why they could not look at the High Chancellor, but he stayed quiet. This was not the time to make trouble. They walked through halls that were taller than any building on Earth. The walls showed moving pictures of alien worlds and space battles from long ago. You tried to study everything, but there was too much to see. Finally, they came to the council chamber. It was a huge round room with 12 tall chairs arranged in a circle. In each chair sat a different kind of alien. Jin had studied pictures of them, but seeing them in person was still shocking. High Chancellor Veltar sat in the tallest chair. He was made of clear crystal, and light seemed to come from inside him. To his right sat Councillor Thexme, who looked like a giant insect, with 4 arms and wings that glowed purple. On the left was the ethereal Sage Morden, a creature that seemed to be made of mist and starlight. "So," said High Chancellor Veltar, his voice like breaking glass, "these are the humans." Jin stepped forward and bowed slightly. "Honored Council. Members, I am Commander Jin Park of United Earth. We come to request membership in the Galactic Council. We bring gifts of friendship and hope for peace between our peoples." Several of the council members made sounds that might have been laughter. Councillor Thexme clicked her 4 arms together. "Friendship?" she said. "What could a species like yours offer us? You have only had space travel for 50 of your years. We have been traveling the stars for thousands of years." "We are young, that is true," Jin said calmly. "But we are eager to learn. We have sciences and arts that might interest you. Our planet has given us many challenges, and we have learned to solve problems in new ways." Sage Morden floated forward. Slightly. When he spoke, his voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. "Your world," he said, "is what civilized beings call a death world. Everything on your planet tries to kill everything else. The gravity is too strong, the weather is too violent, the animals are too dangerous. How can beings from such a place understand peace?" Dr. Yu Kim stepped forward. Jin was proud of her. "Courage, honored sage," she said. "It is true that Earth is a difficult world, but this has made us strong. It has taught us to work together. When everything is trying to kill you, you learn that cooperation is the only way to survive." "Cooperation?" Councillor Thexme made that laughing sound again. "Your species fights wars constantly. Even now, you fight each other over resources and territory. This is not cooperation. This is chaos." Captain Han Li spoke for the first time. "Honored Counselor, humans do fight. But we also help each other. When disasters happen, humans from all over the world come to help. When children are in danger, humans risk their lives to save them, even if they are strangers." High Chancellor Veltar raised one crystal hand, and the room became quiet. We have watched your species for the past 50 years, he said. We have seen your wars. We have seen your pollution. We have seen how you treat your own planet. The galaxy has existed in peace for 3,000 years. We will not allow a chaotic species to disturb this harmony. Jin felt his heart sink, but he kept his face calm. High Chancellor, we know we are not perfect, but we are trying to become better. Is that not what growth means? Is that not what wisdom teaches? Wisdom, said Veltar, teaches us to avoid unnecessary risks. Your species is a risk we do not need to take. The High Chancellor stood up. He was even taller than Jin had expected, maybe 3 meters high. The Galactic Council has made its decision, Veltar announced. Humanity is denied membership in the Council. You will be given one star system at the edge of Council space. You will stay in this system, you will not expand beyond it. You will not contact other species without Council permission. This is our final judgment. The room was completely silent. Jin felt anger rising in his chest, but he pushed it down. Getting angry would only prove they were right about humans being chaotic. We understand your decision, Jin said quietly. We hope that someday you will see that humans can be good neighbors and friends. Someday is not today, said Veltar. Guide Kextel will show you back to your ship. As they walked back through the crystal halls, you whispered to Jin, they did not even look at our scientific data. They did not ask about our culture or our history. They just decided we were not good enough. Han was angry too. 50 years we prepared for this. 50 years of learning their languages and studying their customs. And they gave us 5 minutes. Jin was quiet until they reached their ship. As the transport lifted off from the crystal platform, he finally spoke. They think they know everything about us, he said. They think humans are just violent animals who got lucky and found space travel. They are wrong. Someday we will show them how wrong they are. Outside the window, Nexus Prime grew smaller and smaller until it was just another star in the darkness. But Jin Park did not feel defeated. He felt determined. Humanity had been rejected today, but this was not the end of the story. It was just the beginning. Scout Kai Nam had been right. Something was coming from the dark space beyond the galaxy. Something ancient and terrible. Admiral Highbeak commanded the Council's 3rd Defense Fleet from her flagship, the Crystal Harmony. High was from the water, world of Aquarius, and her people had served the Council for 1,000 years. She had never lost a battle. Today, that was about to change. Admiral, we're getting readings from the Caldara system, reported her communications officer, a young Aquarian named Nexty. 3 Council ships have gone silent. Pirates again? High asked, but she felt worried. 3 ships was too many for normal pirates. I don't think so, Admiral, Nexty replied. The last message from Captain Zordon was ... strange, he said something. Was eating his ship. High frowned. Eating it? What does that mean? Before Nexty could answer, alarms began ringing throughout the ship. The main screen lit up with emergency signals from across the galaxy. Admiral, Nexty's voice was full of fear. We're getting distress calls from 12 systems. Ships are disappearing everywhere. On Nexus Prime, High Chancellor Veltar was reading the same reports. For the first time in 3,000 years, something was attacking the Galactic Council. Not just attacking, destroying everything in its path. Counselor Thexme, Veltar said to the insect-like being beside him, what do our ancient records say about threats from dark space? Thexme's forearms moved quickly as she searched the Council's databases. Her purple wings stopped glowing when she found what she was looking for. High Chancellor, she said quietly, there are records from before the Council was formed. They speak of machines that devour worlds. The ancient texts call them ... Davers. Ethereal Sage Morden floated forward, his misty form flickering with worry. I remember the old stories my people tell, he said. Machines that turn matter into dark energy. Machines that adapt to any weapon used against them. Our ancestors fled from them rather than fight. Fled? Veltar's crystal form brightened with anger. The Council does not flee. We are civilized beings. We solve problems with wisdom and diplomacy. Chancellor, Dexmy said carefully, the machines do not respond to diplomacy. They do not communicate. They only consume. Veltar waved a crystal hand. Send a message to these void devourers. Tell them that their attacks on Council territory will not be tolerated. Offer them a peaceful solution. 3 hours later, the reply came, but it was not words. It was the complete destruction of the Meridian colony. 50 million beings simply vanished. Their planet turned into dark energy. Admiral Highbeak's fleet arrived at the Keldara system, just in time to see the enemy for the first time. The void devourers looked like giant metal spiders, each one the size of a city. Their black hulls seemed to absorb light itself. They moved through space in perfect formation, consuming everything in their path. All ships prepare for battle. High commanded, target the lead vessel, fire all weapons. The Council fleet was beautiful to watch. Elegant ships moved in perfect formations, their energy weapons creating patterns of light against the darkness. It was the kind of warfare that had kept peace in the galaxy for millennia. It was also completely useless. The Devourer ships absorbed every energy blast. Their black hulls adapted to each weapon frequency in seconds. When the Council ships fired particle beams, the Devourers developed particle shields. When they fired plasma cannons, the Devourers absorbed the plasma and grew stronger. Admiral, Nexty shouted. The enemy is returning fire? The Devourer weapons were different from anything the Council had ever seen. Instead of energy beams, they fired streams of dark matter that tore through Council shields like paper. The elegant Council ships, designed for civilized warfare, crumpled under the brutal assault. All ships retreat! High ordered, but it was too late. Half her fleet was already gone, torn apart by weapons that followed no civilized rules of war. In the Soul Sanctuary Zone, humans watched the battle through long-range sensors. Admiral Jin Park stood in the command center of Luna Station, his face grim as he watched the slaughter. They're not just losing, said General Taewan, who stood beside him. They're being destroyed without even scratching the enemy. Dr. Yu Kim studied the sensor readings on her portable computer. The enemy ships are adapting to every attack pattern. It's like they know exactly what the Council will do next. Course they do, said Engineer Wu Xin, who had come to watch the battle. The Council has fought the same way for 3,000 years. Perfect formations, standard tactics, predictable weapons. These machines have probably seen it all before. Lieutenant Da Young was in the room too, along with Scout Kai Nam and Dr. Bio Choi. All of humanity's best minds were watching their former enemies face extinction. Should we help them? Da Young asked quietly. Jin was quiet for a long moment. They rejected us? They called us primitive? They locked us in this system like animals in a cage. But they're still people, Dr. Bio Choi said. Living beings who don't deserve to die. On Nexus Prime, the Council was in emergency session. More than half the galaxy's defense fleets had been destroyed in just 3 days. The Void Devourers were moving toward the core worlds, consuming everything. We must awaken the ancient war machines, suggested Counselor Rixan, a being made of gas and electricity. The weapons our ancestors used in the old wars. Those weapons were buried for good reasons, Sage Morden replied. They were too dangerous, too destructive. More destructive than extinction? Dexmy asked. High Chancellor Veltar stood silent, in the center of the chamber. For 3,000 years, the Council had maintained perfect order. They had rules for everything, procedures for every problem. But the Void Devourers followed no rules. They cared nothing for civilization or order. Send a message to all civilized species, Veltar finally said. Tell them we need immediate assistance against an existential threat. All civilized species? Dixmy asked. What about the humans? Veltar's crystal form dimmed. The humans are not civilized. They are chaotic primitives. What could they possibly do that we cannot? On Luna Station, Scout Kai Nam intercepted the Council's emergency broadcast. He brought it immediately to Admiral Jin. They're asking for help from all civilized species, Kai said. But they specifically excluded us, Jin read the message slowly. Even facing extinction, the Council still considered humans unworthy. Interesting, said Dr. Yu Kim, who had been studying the battle recordings. I think I know why the Devourers are winning so easily. Why? Jin asked. The Council's weapons and tactics haven't changed in thousands of years, Yu explained. They're predictable, but humans dot. We learn to fight on a world where everything changes constantly. Our tactics are chaos fighters. General Taewan nodded slowly. Death world tactics, unpredictable, adaptive, the kind of fighting that kept humans alive when nothing else could. The question is, Jin said quietly, do we help people who have spent 5 years treating us like dangerous animals? Outside, the station windows, more emergency signals lit up the communications board. Entire star systems were going dark. The galaxy was dying, and its proud council was too arrogant to ask the only species that might be able to help. Jin made his decision. Get me a secure channel to Nexus Prime, he ordered. It's time to make the council an offer they can't refuse. Dr. Yu Kim had not slept for 2 days. She sat in her laboratory on Luna Station, surrounded by screens showing data from the Void Devourer attacks. Her eyes were red from staring at numbers, but she had finally found something important. Admiral. Jin, she called over the communication system. I need you to see this right away. Jin arrived within minutes, along with Engineer Wu Xin and General Taewan. You pointed to a complex graph on her main screen. I've been studying every battle. The Council has fought against the Devourers, she said. Look at this pattern. The graph showed how the Devourer ships responded to different attacks. Every time the Council used energy weapons, the Devourers adapted in exactly 3 minutes. Every time they changed formation, the Devourers countered. In 5 minutes, they learned fast, Tay said. Too fast, you replied. But look at this. She pointed to a section of the graph that looked different. This is from Admiral Hybeek's retreat at Caldara. When her ships were damaged and breaking formation, the Devourers took 7 minutes to adapt. 7 minutes instead of 3. Wu said slowly, Why? Because damaged ships don't follow patterns, Yu explained. When a ship is falling apart, it can't fight the way it's supposed to. The movements become random, unpredictable, and the Devourers couldn't adapt as quickly. Jin felt something click in his mind. You're saying these machines can only adapt to predictable behavior? Exactly, you said excitedly. The Council has fought the same way for 3,000 years. Beautiful formations, standard tactics, predictable weapons. The Devourers have had time to study every possible Council battle plan. Engineer Wu Xin was already thinking ahead. But humans don't fight like the Council. We learn to fight on Earth where nothing stays the same. Weather changes, animals adapt, even the ground moves under your feet. General Taewan smiled. Grimly, death world tactics. We call it organized chaos. It looks random, but there's a deeper strategy underneath. Chief Engineer Sun Park arrived at the laboratory just as Jin was making his decision. Sun was not related to Admiral Jin Park, but she was just as smart. She had been working on weapon modifications for 3 days straight. Chief Sun, Jin said, how quickly can you modify Council ships to use our technologies? If I had access to their manufacturing plants? Sun thought for a moment. Maybe a week for basic modifications. 2 weeks for the full package. What kind of modifications? You asked. Sun smiled. Redundant systems, for one thing. Council ships shut down when they take damage. Our ships keep fighting even when half their systems are destroyed. Also, weapons that change frequency randomly. If the Devourers can't predict what we'll do next, they can't adapt. Colonel Alim entered the room. She was humanity's best tactical officer, a small woman with sharp eyes who had studied every form of combat humans had ever invented. I've been thinking about this problem, I said. The Devourers expect civilized warfare. What if we give them the opposite? Meaning? Jin asked. Earth warfare, I replied. Guerrilla tactics. Hit-and-run attacks. Fighting in asteroid fields where sensor readings are confused. Using debris as weapons. Breaking every rule of civilized combat. Pilot Yoon-ji appeared on the communication screen from her fighter squadron. She was testing the new human ships in the asteroid belt. "Admiral," she said, "I've been practicing with the chaos protocols. My ship can move in patterns that would make a council pilot sick. Random direction changes, using damaged systems as advantages, fighting with weapons. That shouldn't work together." "Show me," Jin said. Yoon's single quotes S fighter appeared on the main screen. The small ship moved through an asteroid field like a dancer having a seizure. It spun, rolled, accelerated, and decelerated with no apparent pattern. Yet somehow it avoided every asteroid and hit every target. "Council pilots would call this insane," Yoon said proudly. "But it works." Jin looked around the room at his team. These were the people the Galactic Council had rejected as primitive chaos makers. Now they might be the galaxy's only hope. "Get me a secure channel to Nexus Prime," Jin ordered. It took an hour to establish the connection. When High Chancellor Veltar appeared on the screen, his crystal form was dim with exhaustion. Behind him, Jin could see other council members arguing in panic. "Admiral Jin Park," Veltar said stiffly. "What do you want?" "To save your lives," Jin replied simply. "We've been watching your battles with the Void Devourers. We think we know why you're losing." "Impossible," Veltar said. "We have the most advanced military minds in the galaxy. We have weapons and tactics perfected over millennia." "And that's exactly the problem," Jin said. "Your tactics are too perfect. Too predictable. The Devourers can adapt to anything you do because they've seen it all before." Counselor Lexmi moved into view. "And you believe your primitive tactics would work better?" Dr. Yu Kim stepped forward. "Chancellor, may I show you something?" You displayed her analysis of the Devourer adaptation patterns. Even through their pride, the council members could see the truth in her data. "The machines adapt to order," you explained. "But humans learn to fight in chaos. On our world, the weather changes without warning. Animals attack in unexpected ways. We learn to be unpredictable because predictable humans died." Engineer Wu Xin showed them schematics of modified weapon systems. "Our technology doesn't follow your elegant patterns. It's designed to work even when everything goes wrong. Redundant systems, random frequency changes, weapons that adapt faster than the enemy can." Ethereal Sage Morden floated closer to his screen. "You are saying that your chaos can defeat their order?" "We're saying that sometimes you need a little madness to stay sane." Colonel A. Lim replied. High Chancellor Veltar was quiet for a long time. Behind him, Jin could hear reports of more lost colonies, more destroyed fleets. The galaxy was dying while its leaders debated. "What do you want in return?" Veltar finally asked. "Access to your manufacturing facilities," Jin said. "Complete star charts of Devourer movements. And temporary command authority over the combined defense forces." "Command authority?" Nextme clicked her arms angrily. "You want us to put primitives in charge of our fleets?" "You want to put soldiers in charge of your war," General Taewan corrected. "We've been fighting our whole lives. You've been talking about peace." Another emergency signal interrupted the conversation. The Devourer fleet had just destroyed the important industrial world of Mechania. 2 billion beings were gone. Veltar's crystal form flickered. For the first time in 3,000 years, the High Chancellor of the Galactic Council was truly afraid. "The Council will vote," he said quietly. The vote took 6 hours. Jin waited in the Luna Station Command Center, watching more systems fall to the Devourers. Finally, Veltar returned to the screen. "The vote was 7-5, he said. "Humanity is granted emergency access to Council resources and temporary command authority over all defensive operations." Counselor Lexmi appeared beside him. She was the one who had cast the deciding vote. "Do not make us regret this decision, Admiral Park. We won't," Jin promised. "But you need to understand something. We're not going to fight your civilized war. We're going to fight like humans. It's going to look like chaos. It's going to break every rule you have about proper combat. If it stops the Devourers," Veltar said, "we will accept your chaos." As the communication ended, Jin turned to his team. The people the galaxy had rejected were now its commanders. You heard him, Jin said. Let's show the galaxy what humans can do. Admiral Jin Park stood on the bridge of the Council battleship Eternal Wisdom. It was the largest ship he had ever commanded, but it felt wrong. Everything was too clean, too perfect, too fragile for the war they were about to fight. Chief Sun, he called to the human engineer working at a control panel. How long until the modifications are complete? Chief Engineer Sun Park looked up from the alien technology she was rewiring. Her hands were covered in lubricant from council machinery. That was never meant to be changed. 6 more hours for basic survival upgrades, she said. The backup systems are installed, but I still need to randomize the weapon frequencies. Captain Han Li walked over from the tactical station. The council engineers are not happy about what we're doing to their ships. Jin looked at the alien. Technicians working alongside Sun's team. They moved carefully, afraid to damage the elegant systems their people had perfected over centuries. The humans worked differently, tearing out unnecessary parts and adding crude but effective backup systems. Engineer Kolvas, Jin called to the senior council technician, a tall crystalline being. Are you concerned about our modifications? Kolvas turned his faceted head toward Jin. Admiral Park, your people are destroying thousands of years of engineering perfection. These ships were designed to be elegant, efficient, beautiful. And fragile, added Engineer Wu Xin, who was installing a third backup power system where a decorative panel used to be. Beauty doesn't matter if you're dead. Dr. Bio Choi was working in the medical bay, training council doctors to use her. Chaos nanits. The tiny robots were completely different from traditional council medicine. The nanits operate on quantum randomness, she explained to Dr. Hexra, an insectoid physician. They cannot be predicted or controlled by outside forces. This makes them immune to devour adaptation technology. But how can medicine be random? Dr. Hexra asked, clicking her mandibles in confusion. Healing requires precision, order, careful planning. On Earth, disease is chaos, Bill replied. Cancer cells grow randomly, viruses mutate without pattern. We learn to fight chaos with chaos. Lieutenant Da Yong was in the fighter bay, teaching council pilots how to fly like humans. Most of them were struggling with the concept. Stop. Thinking, she told a young Aquarian pilot named Felton. In your practice run, you calculated every move 3 seconds ahead. Real combat doesn't give you 3 seconds. But without planning, how do we avoid making mistakes? Felton asked. You don't avoid mistakes, Da Yong explained. You use them. When your ship gets damaged, that's not a failure. That's a new way to move that the enemy won't expect. Pilot. Yunji was demonstrating chaos flying in her modified fighter. The small ship moved through the practice course like a drunken bird, spinning and rolling without apparent reason. Yet it completed the course faster than any council ship ever. Your movements make no sense, observed Wing Commander Zextai, a proud being from the gas giant Nimbus. There is no pattern, no efficiency, no grace. Exactly, Yun replied cheerfully. The Devourers can adapt to patterns. They can't adapt to madness. General Taewan was in the strategy room with the remaining council military leaders. The old general looked tired but determined as he explained human tactics to beings who had never known defeat. Forget everything you know about proper warfare, he said to Admiral Highbeak and the other commanders. Proper warfare will get you killed. We're going to fight dirty. Define dirty, Admiral High requested. She was still proud, but defeat had made her willing to listen. Using asteroid fields as weapons, Colonel Alem answered. Ramming damaged ships into enemy vessels. Fighting with systems that are falling apart. Attacking when we should retreat and retreating when we should attack? This sounds like chaos, said Fleet Commander Turgun, a massive being from a high-gravity world. It is chaos, Tay agreed. Organized chaos. The kind that kept humans alive on a planet that tried to kill us every day. Dr. Yu Kim was in the intelligence center, analyzing every piece of data they had about the Void Devourers. She had discovered something important about their weakness, but she needed to be sure. Scout Kainam, she called to the human monitoring. Communications, show me the adaptation patterns again. Kai brought up the holographic display showing how quickly devourers adapted to different tactics. And the pattern is clear. They adapt to order in minutes, but chaos takes them much longer. How much longer, you asked? Based on the battle data, maybe 20 minutes for completely random behavior, Kai replied. Long enough for us to hurt them. The first test of human tactics came at the Meridian defense line. The Devourers were advancing toward the core worlds, consuming everything in their path. Jin had positioned the combined human-alien fleet in the asteroid belt around Meridian. Prime, all ships, remember your training, Jin announced over the fleet communication system. Do not fight like the Council. Fight like humans. Lieutenant Da Young led the first attack in her squadron of modified fighters. Instead of the elegant formations Council pilots preferred, the human ships moved like a swarm of angry insects. They spun, rolled, and accelerated unpredictably. The Devourers tried to adapt, but the human ships kept changing their tactics. When the enemy adapted to spinning attacks, the humans switched to straight-line charges. When they adapted to energy weapons, the humans used kinetic projectiles. It's working, Da Young reported excitedly. The enemy ships are taking damage. Their adaptation is too slow. Chief Sun's modifications proved their worth when Da Young's fighter took a direct hit. A Council ship would have been destroyed, but the human-modified vessel kept fighting with backup systems and redundant power sources. My main engine is gone, but I have 2 backup engines. Da Young laughed as she continued her attack run. Council. Engineering never prepared for this. The larger ships followed the human example. Admiral Highbeak, commanding a modified Council cruiser, abandoned all her elegant training and fought like a human. Her ship moved erratically through the asteroid field, using the rocks as cover and weapons. Admiral High to all ships, she announced. The human tactics are effective. I am officially ordering all commanders to abandon proper formation and fight ... chaotically. For many Council officers, it was the hardest order they had ever received. But they followed it, and the results were immediate. Ships that had been losing consistently for weeks suddenly began winning. Engineer Wu Xin watched the battle from the command ship and smiled as his modifications proved themselves. Look at that Council destroyer, he said to Jin. It's been hit 6 times, but it's still fighting because of our backup systems. The Devourers don't know how to handle ships that refuse to die? Jin replied. Dr. Bio Choi's medical nanites proved crucial when wounded pilots continued flying with injuries that should have been fatal. The Chaos nanites repaired damage faster than the Devourers could inflict it. This is impossible, reported one Devourer ship in a transmission the humans intercepted. These beings continue fighting when they should be dead. Their technology operates on principles we cannot analyze. The battle lasted 12 hours. When it ended, the human-alien fleet had achieved something no one thought possible. They had forced the Void Devourers to retreat. High Chancellor Veltar watched the battle reports with amazement. Admiral Park, he said over the communication link, your tactics have saved the Meridian system. How is this possible? Because we're not fighting your war anymore, Jin replied. We're fighting ours. But even as the fleet celebrated their first victory, long-range sensors detected something terrifying. The main Devourer fleet was awakening at the galaxy's center. Millions of ancient machines that had slept for eons were stirring to life. Admiral, Scout Kai Nam reported quietly, the real battle is about to begin. What we fought today was just a scouting force. Jin nodded grimly. They had proven that human tactics could work against the Devourers. Now they would have to prove it could work against odds that no sane being would face. Signal all ships, Jin commanded. Prepare for the final battle. We're going to show the galaxy what humans are really capable of. Outside the bridge windows, the modified fleet began moving toward the galaxy's center. Ships that had once represented perfect Council engineering now bristled with human additions. Backup systems, random weapons, and chaos generators that would have horrified their original designers. They were no longer Council ships or human ships. They were something new, Something the galaxy had never seen before, something the Void Devourers could not understand. The Nexus Void was the darkest place in the galaxy. Here, at the very center of all known space, the ancient Void Devourers had built their first nest millions of years ago. Now, as Admiral Jin Park's combined fleet approached, they could see the enemy in all its terrible glory. Millions of Devourer ships surrounded a massive black structure that pulsed with dark energy. The prime core was larger than a moon, covered in mechanical spines that reached out into space like the arms of a giant spider. "Admiral," Scout Kainam reported from his sensor station, "I'm reading energy levels that don't make sense. That thing could destroy entire star systems." Jin stood on the bridge of the flagship New Earth, a council battleship that barely looked like its original design anymore. Human modifications covered every surface. Backup systems, random weapons, and chaos generators made the ship look like it had been built by madmen. Maybe it had been. "Dr. Yu," Jin called to the scientist studying her instruments. "Any final insights about the prime core?" Dr. Yu Kim looked up from her readings. Her eyes were bright with excitement and fear. "The core operates on pure logic, Admiral. Perfect mathematical calculations. It controls every Devourer ship through precise commands. And that's a weakness, how?" asked Captain Han Li. "Because pure logic cannot understand pure chaos," Yu explained. "The core expects every being to act logically. To retreat when outmatched, to surrender when defeat is certain, to follow patterns that make sense." General Taiwan smiled grimly. "But humans don't always make sense, do we?" The first wave of Devourer ships came at them like a black tide. Millions of enemy vessels, each one the size of a city, moving in perfect formation. It was the largest military force the galaxy had ever seen. Lieutenant Da Young led the fighter attack in her modified ship Earth's Daughter. Behind her flew pilots from dozens of different worlds, all trained in human chaos tactics. "Remember," Da Young called over the radio, "don't fight like you're supposed to. Fight like you're crazy." The fighters dove into the enemy formation like comets. Instead of staying together, they scattered in every direction. Instead of targeting logical weak points, they attacked wherever they felt like attacking. Instead of retreating when damaged, they used their damage as a new kind of weapon. Pilot Yunji's ship took a direct hit that destroyed her main engine. A logical pilot would have retreated for repairs. Instead, Yun used her damaged ship's spinning motion to slice through 3 Devourer vessels like a blade. "My ship is falling apart," she laughed over the radio. "This is the best I've ever flown." The larger ships followed the Chaos Doctrine. Engineer Wu Xin watched from his battle station as ships that should have been destroyed continued fighting with backup systems he had installed. "Look at that Council cruiser," he said proudly. "It's been hit 20 times, but it won't die. The Devourers don't know how to kill something that refuses to stay dead." Chief Engineer Sun Park was in the engine room, keeping their own ship running through the impossible. When the main power failed, she switched to backup power. When that failed, she switched to emergency power. When that failed, she jury-rigged a power source from the coffee machine. "Engineering to bridge," she called. "We're running on systems that shouldn't work, powered by equipment that doesn't exist, held together by materials that can't do what they're doing. Everything is perfect." Dr. Bio Troy's medical nanites proved crucial as wounded crew members continued fighting with injuries that should have been fatal. The Chaos nanites repaired damage faster than it could be inflicted, keeping humans and aliens alive when logic said they should be dead. The Prime Core tried to adapt to the human tactics, but it couldn't. Every time it calculated a response to human behavior, the humans did something different. Every time it predicted their moves, they moved unpredictably. "The core is overloading," Dr. Yu reported excitedly. "It's trying to process too many variables at once." But the final breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Scout Kainam, monitoring enemy communications, discovered something amazing. "Admiral," he called out, "the Prime Core is asking questions." "What kind of questions?" Jin asked. It's asking why humans fight when they're losing, why they help aliens who rejected them, why they risk their lives for beings they've never met. The core cannot understand illogical kindness. Jin realized what this meant. It's not just our tactics that confuse them, it's our hearts. The turning point came when pilot Yunji's damaged fighter reached the prime core itself. Her ship was more wreckage than spacecraft now, held together by backup systems and sheer stubbornness. "I'm going in," she announced calmly. "Yun, that's suicide," Dayoung called. "Maybe," Yun replied. "But it's also victory." Her broken ship crashed into the prime core's main processing center. The explosion was small compared to the massive structure, but it introduced something the core had never experienced before: random, quantum chaos from Dr. Bio Choi's nanits. The nanits spread through the core's logical systems like a virus of randomness. Every calculation became uncertain. Every command became unpredictable. The core, designed for perfect order, began to tear itself apart trying to process pure chaos. One by one, the Devourer ships stopped moving. Their perfect coordination collapsed as the prime core lost its ability to control them. Millions of ancient machines, frozen by their inability to understand human behavior, drifted powerless in space. The galaxy was saved. Admiral Jin Park stood in the council chambers on Nexus Prime, the same room where humanity had been rejected. 5 years ago was now filled with grateful aliens. High Chancellor Veltar approached him, his crystal form brighter than Jin had ever seen it. "Admiral Park," Veltar said formally, "the Galactic Council owes humanity a debt we can never repay. We were wrong about your people. You are not primitive chaos makers, you are something we never understood before." "What's that?" Jin asked. "You are beings who choose to do right even when it makes no logical sense," Counselor Lexmi said, her purple wings glowing with respect. "You fought for people who had rejected you. You saved beings who had called you primitive. This is not chaos. This is something higher than logic." Ethereal Sage Morden floated forward. "The Council offers you more than membership, Admiral Park. We offer you leadership of the new Galactic Defense Initiative. Will you accept?" Jin looked around the chamber at the aliens who had once dismissed humanity. Now they looked at him with respect, gratitude, and hope. "We accept," he said simply. "But on one condition." "Name it," Veltar said. "We do this together. No more rejecting species because they're different. No more calling beings primitive because they don't fit your patterns. The galaxy is big enough for all kinds of intelligence." 6 months later, Dr. Yu Kim stood in the first joint human-alien research station orbiting Earth. Scientists from dozens of worlds worked together, sharing knowledge that had been kept separate for millennia. Engineer Wu Xin was teaching young aliens how to build systems that could survive anything. His students were learning that sometimes the best engineering wasn't the most elegant engineering. Dr. Bio Choi was training medics from across the galaxy to use chaos nanits. Her techniques were saving lives on worlds that had never known such medical miracles. And Admiral Jin Park. He stood once again at a viewing window, but this time he wasn't looking at rejection. He was looking at possibility. Human ships worked alongside alien vessels, protecting the galaxy together. Director Mi Yoon joined him at the window. "Any regrets about that day on Nexus Prime?" she asked. Jin smiled. "None at all. They thought the galaxy didn't need humans. Now they know better." Outside the window, the combined fleet of the Galactic Defense Initiative patrolled the stars. Ships from 100 worlds working as one. At their head flew the flagship Unity, a vessel that combined the best of human engineering with the wisdom of the ancients. The galaxy had learned that civilization wasn't about following old patterns. Sometimes you needed a little human chaos to build something truly beautiful. And in the darkness between galaxies, if any threats were watching, they would see something that had never existed before, a galaxy united not by force or fear, but by choice and friendship. They would learn, as the Void Devourers had learned, that the most powerful force in the universe wasn't logic or order. It was hope. 5 years had passed since the Galactic Council rejected humanity. 5 long years trapped in what they called the Soul Sanctuary Zone. It was a fancy name for a prison that included Earth, Mars, and a few nearby stars, but humans had not wasted. Those 5 years, Director Myun stood in the main control room of Luna Station, looking at reports from across human space. Mi was a small woman with bright eyes and a mind that never stopped working. She had been chosen to lead the Human Development Initiative right after the Council's rejection. "Show me the numbers again, Wu," she said to the man standing beside. Her dot engineer Wu Xin pulled up a hologram showing their latest fusion reactor. Wu was young, maybe 30 years old, but he was the best engineer humanity had ever produced. "The new reactor is 3 times more powerful than anything the Council uses," Wu said with pride. "It also uses half the fuel. We tested it yesterday on the Mars colony. Perfect results," Mi nodded. "Good. What about the medical research?" "Dr. Bio Choi says her nanites are ready for human testing," Wu replied. "She thinks they can cure diseases that even Council medicine cannot fix." Mi smiled. The Council thought humans were primitive. They had no idea what humans could do when they put their minds to something. Across the room, a communication screen lit up. The face of General Taewan appeared. Tae was an older man with gray hair and serious eyes. He had been building humanity's defenses for 5 years. "Mi, we need to talk," Tae said. "I just got a report from our border scouts. Something strange is happening out there." "What kind of strange?" Mi asked. "The kind that makes me worried." Tae replied, "Can you come to the military station? And bring Admiral Jin if you can find him." Admiral Jin Park had been promoted after returning from Nexus Prime. He now commanded all of humanity's space forces. Mi found him in the training center, watching new pilots practice in simulators. "How are they doing?" Mi asked. Jin smiled. "Better than I expected. Lieutenant Da Young just beat the impossible scenario for the 3rd time this week." Mi looked at the young woman climbing out of the simulator. Lieutenant Da Young was only 25, but she flew like she had been born in space. Her ship moved in ways that made no sense to traditional pilots, but somehow it worked. "General Tae wants to see us," Mi told Jin. "He says it's important." They took a fast transport to the military station orbiting Jupiter. General Tae met them at the docking bay. His face was worried. "What's wrong?" Jin asked. "Come with me," Tae said. "I'll show you." They walked to the intelligence center. The room was full of screens showing star maps and communication signals. In the center stood Scout Kai Nam, a thin man who had been monitoring the galaxy's edge for 3 years. "Tell them what you told me," Tae said to Kai. Kai pointed to a star map. "For the past 6 months, I've been picking up strange signals from the dark space beyond the galaxy. At first, I thought it was just background noise. But the patterns are too regular. Something is out there." "Something like what?" Mi asked. "I don't know," Kai admitted, "but whatever it is, it's big. And it's moving toward the galaxy." Jin studied the map. "Have you told the Council?" "We tried," Tae said. "They won't listen to us. Remember, we're not allowed to contact other species without permission. And they think we're just primitive humans making up stories." Mi felt anger rising in her chest. Even when humans tried to help, the Council ignored them. "There's more," Kai continued. "I've been listening to Council communications. They're having problems at the galaxy's edge. Ships are disappearing. Colonies are going silent, but they're not taking it seriously." "What do you mean?" Jin asked. "They think it's just pirates or rebels," Kai explained. "They keep sending official messages telling the attackers to stop. When that doesn't work, they send more messages." Jin shook his head. "The Council has lived in peace for so long, they've forgotten how to deal with real threats." Back on Luna Station, Dr. Bio Choi was working late in her laboratory. Bio was a quiet woman who loved solving puzzles. Her greatest puzzle was how to make the human body stronger and healthier. She looked at her latest creation through a microscope. The nanites were so small that millions could fit on the head of a pin, but each one was like a tiny robot that could repair damaged cells and fight disease. "Computer, run test sequence 7, she said. The test results appeared on her screen. The nanites had successfully repaired damaged tissue in less than an hour. Leo smiled. The Council's best medicine took days to do the same thing. Meanwhile, on the asteroid research station, engineer Wu Xin was putting the finishing touches on humanity's newest spacecraft. The ship was smaller than Council vessels, but it was built differently. Most ships are designed to be elegant, Wu explained to his assistant. Beautiful lines, efficient systems, everything perfect. Our ships are designed to survive. The human ship had backup systems for its backup systems. If the main engine failed, there were two smaller engines. If those failed, there were emergency rockets. Every system was built to keep working even. When damaged, it's not pretty, Wu's assistant said. No, Wu agreed. But it's alive. Lieutenant Da Young was testing one of these new ships in the asteroid belt. Her ship, the Earth's Daughter, moved through the rocks like a dancer. Where Council ships would use careful, planned movements, Da Young used instinct and quick reflexes. Control. This is Da Young, she said into her radio. The ship handles perfectly. I can fly through asteroid fields that would stop any Council ship. How? Asked the voice from control. Council ships are afraid of getting scratched, Da Young replied. This ship expects to get hit. It's built to take damage and keep flying. As Da Young flew back to base, she didn't know that Scout Kai Nam was picking up new signals. Strange, dark signals from the void between galaxies. The signals were getting stronger every day. On Nexus Prime, High Chancellor Veltar was reading reports about missing ships and silent colonies. The reports worried him, but not too much. The galaxy had always had small problems. Pirates, rebels, criminals. The Council had ways of dealing with such things. Send another message to the outer colonies, he told his aide. Tell them that unauthorized attacks on Council ships will not be tolerated. Veltar had no idea that something ancient and terrible was awakening in the dark. Something that had slept for thousands of years was finally stirring. Something that the old Council records called the Void Devourciad in their small corner of the galaxy. Humanity continued to grow stronger. They built better ships, created new technologies, and trained harder than ever before. The Council had rejected them, but humans had not given up. Admiral Jin Park stood once again at the viewing window of a space station, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the galaxy faced a threat it did not understand. And when that threat finally revealed itself, humanity would be ready. Let them think we're primitive, Jin said quietly to himself. Let them think we don't matter. They're about to learn what humans can really do.